People are truly the most terrifying thing. Here are 5 stories from the subreddit Let's Not Meet. A link to the set of stories that I read today are in the description below. The first story. I honestly thought I'd never have something to post, until last night happened. Some background info. Me and my roommate have just moved into this apartment, and yesterday was our 1-month anniversary of living there. It's in Ontario, GTA. Great neighbourhood. A little touristy, but not a bad area. The building is in great shape, but old, and many of the tenants have told us they've lived here for 20 plus years. We were assured the locks were changed before we moved in. I have a key, as does my roommate. The old couple that takes care of the building, they're in their 60s, and the general maintenance guy. So I was the last to leave the apartment around 8 AM, and I locked the door. My roommate got home around about 4:30 PM. She unlocked the door, changed, and left again to run errands. We both got home around 6 PM. The first thing I did was go to my room to change out of work clothes. And I noticed that my closet looked kind of messy. I had a small box of knickknacks containing a notebook, tissue paper, lip gloss, and other junk stuff. It looked like it had been fallen out onto the floor of my closet. However, the box was then put back up and some of my dirty clothes from my basket were inside. It looked like someone had rummaged through my dirty laundry and tossed clothes out of their way, which probably caused the box full of stuff to fall in the first place. On top of that, brand new clothes I had just purchased were still hung up, but hanging inside the box, like someone was quickly sliding clothes on the clothing bar, and it flipped some into the box. Because I'm very neat and tidy, I knew right away that this was not right. I did not do this. So I began to rationalize. Did my roommate do this? No. Why would she do this? She wouldn't do this. If she needed something, she'd ask. Did I do this? Maybe I threw away my pants in the closet and it landed in the box. Maybe I did leave this stuff on the floor. Oh well, weird anyway. Essentially my inner dialogue. Cut to about 9:45 PM. I'm in my room and all of a sudden I hear my roommate call my name loudly and in a tone of voice I've never heard before. I go to her room and she said, "I found the gift you left me." I say I don't understand. "The present in my pillow," she says. I look at her from the hall and say, I have no idea what she's talking about. I go into her room and on her bed is a dildo. My dildo. I grab it and say, "That's mine, why is it in here?" She said, "It was in my pillow. You didn't put it there?" I tell her it was mixed in with my laundry basket. That's where I leave it to remind myself to wash it within a day or so. Now the wheels are turning, and things are coming together. Someone must have let themselves into our apartment with a key, went into my room, looked through my dirty laundry, found the dildo mixed in there, and put it inside her pillowcase, so she'd find it when she went to bed. After being in shock for a few minutes, the reality sunk in, and I started to cry. Someone had access to our apartment for at least the last month. We decided to talk to the building managers, the old couple. And while they seemed to want to comfort me because I was an emotional mess, the husband mostly played it down saying it was probably a joke. And did we give a copy of the key to anyone? No, we did not. Ever. At least I don't think so. I think it was part culture/age that made them downplay it like this. We did call the cops, and they came within an hour or so. They took all of our info, and we told them the full story. And they did have a look around. Honestly, they can't do much, and I figured that. At least we have a paper trail. I definitely mentioned the handyman guy as one they should talk to. They're going to follow up with some residents and the building staff. I also watched the property manager. Old guy, sweet, and that handyman changed my locks this afternoon. If anything seems out of place, it's very clear it's either staff or someone who had access to their apartment/keys. We're getting a camera that we can attach somewhat discreetly, and hopefully it never catches anyone that shouldn't be in our apartment. So to the intruder of our apartment, let's not meet. Story 2. This happened to my family when I was like 11 or 12 years old. Some background: we live in a small, close-knit southwestern town. My house is pretty small and about 100 years old. Family of 4, my parents, me, and my younger brother by about 5 years. We used to leave our front door unlocked, mostly because we didn't ever think someone like this could happen in our town. It was Christmas night, so we all went to bed pretty early since we're more of a Christmas Eve type of family. Me and my younger brother had each gotten $200 cash from my grandparents to help pay for summer camps as a Christmas gift, and it was sitting in my mum's desk drawer inside her very tiny office. At some point during the night, that money was stolen, along with my mother's car, which was promptly crashed down the street. I was asleep on the living room couch, which is right next to our front door. Our front door is very loud. It's made of really old wood and is super heavy, so it creaks almost every time you open it. Our back door is locked. They must have come in through the front. So basically, whoever it was must have walked within a foot of me to get inside the house. That's creepy and off-putting. But what really gets me is my mum's car. My mum keeps her car keys in her jacket pocket, which hangs inside my parents' bedroom. On the wall across from their door, again, you have to walk within a foot of my parents' bed to even get there. But even if my parents had slept through a nearby intruder, how did they know where my mum kept her car keys? Or where she hung her jacket? Every night. It's not an obvious spot to put your keys, and they apparently knew exactly where to go. Even grabbing the cash from the desk drawer makes sense. A lot of people keep important stuff there. The car thing just doesn't make sense to me. Also, they crashed it right down the street, like literally into the telephone pole at the end of our street. So we figured they were probably drunk, which raises even more questions. How were they able to open our super loud door and walk right by me without even noticing? And how were they able to steal the cash and my mum's keys from right under our noses? Both me and my mum assume it's probably someone we know/knew, but we have no idea who. We probably never will. So, creepy Christmas robber, let's not meet. Story 3. I was driving home from work a couple hours ago. Nothing really out of the ordinary. When I pulled into my neighbourhood, there was a car just sitting in the road in front of a house idling. The street is pretty tiny, and it was about 10:30 p.m. So I pulled up behind it and waited for a couple of minutes, naively expecting the car to move on. An older guy jumped out in the passenger seat and was doing something to the ground. I couldn't really tell, but he definitely wasn't picking anything up. At that point, my patience was wearing thin, so I passed them in opposite lane. Nothing crazy, considering this is a quiet neighbourhood late at night. I kept driving toward my house until I looked up in my mirror and noticed that they were pretty much riding my ass. I had a hunch they might be following me. I drove past my house up the parallel street to test my theory, not signalling to make a right turn on a connecting street a quarter mile up the road, essentially making a circle. Without hesitation, the car turned as well. I think that at this time they knew I was aware that they were trying to follow me home, so they jumped into the other lane and tried to catch up to me. I was pretty freaked out at this point, so I had my phone out and was dialing 911. When the guy in the passenger seat let down the window and yelled, "Yo!" multiple times at me, I didn't even acknowledge them, as I put my phone against my drive side window so they could see the outbound call to 911, and they immediately split to a different neighbourhood. I hung up assuming that it was finished. The operator called me back making sure I was alright and I didn't need any help. None up, because I'm pretty shaken up about it because my neighbourhood isn't a bad area. It's pretty quiet actually. Most of my neighbours are elderly. I've never had anything like this happen before. It just rubs me the wrong way. I really hope they don't come back looking for my car. So, creepy person who followed me, let's not meet. Story 4. This happened about a month ago, and is something I just need to get off my chest. I recently moved out of my parents' house into a tiny apartment in a tiny rural town about 3 hours away. I'd been away for the weekend and was driving home on Sunday night when I decided to stop for gas at the gas station about a block away from my new house. It was dark, but the gas station was fairly lit. On my way to the gas station, I had passed a man riding a recumbent bike, and as I pulled into the pumps, I realised that he had followed me. Now, this didn't raise any alarm bells. The convenience store attached to the gas station is very popular for snacks and also rents movies out to the small town. As I'm going to pay cash for my gas, I hold the door open for the bicycle man. He makes very intense eye contact, but walks in and goes to browse snacks. I pay the clerk and head back to my car to begin pumping gas. As I get the nozzle situated and am just standing there waiting for my tank to fill, I feel that crawling sensation you get when someone is watching you. I turn around to survey the parking lot. The bicycle man was standing in the shadows next to the gas station right by his bike, staring me down. Immediately, a cold wave washes over me, and I hurry to finish up my transaction. I was due change in the money I'd given to the clerk for gas, so I walked back inside, hoping that when I came out he would be gone. However, he too entered the store right after I did, and was now making a big show at looking at the newspaper by the door. I get my change and decided to just loiter in the store, in hopes that he'll get bored and leave. For the life of me, I don't know why I didn't tell the clerk I was being followed. But I spent 15 or so minutes just walking up and down the aisles looking at bags of chips and random snacks. Finally, I think that it's safe to leave. I didn't see him anywhere. I head out the door and make a few steps to the parking lot before I hear the door open behind me. As I glanced back, I recognized the bicycle man and I rushed to my car. As I'm hurrying to get in, turn it on and buckle up, I put my change away and I see him standing in the alleyway next to the store, rushing to get on his bike. I finally just threw everything on the passenger seat and just peeled out of the gas station as fast as possible. Now, I should mention that I only moved here about a month before and didn't know the area very well aside from getting to my apartment. And I have a bright red car with out-of-state license plates that stick out like a sore thumb in this tiny town. I realised that he absolutely saw what direction I was headed and could easily just drive around and see my parked car outside of my apartment. So in my panic, I end up parking in the lot across the street from my place and waiting for my heart to stop racing. And locked. I was parked there for maybe 2 minutes before I realised that he got the car and knocked. I was spooked. I ended up driving for around 15-20 minutes before finding the police station and waiting for them to come right out and talk to me in the parking lot. Bicycle man was never confronted by the police, but I sometimes see him riding up and down the main street. So, to the creepy bicycle man, let's not meet. The final story. I live in Argentina, so my English isn't my native language. I apologise for my mistakes. This happened at dawn in my city. It's not a very big city, so killings or kidnappings are almost non-existent. Plus, this happened in downtown/surroundings, the safest area of the city. I'm 25 and I'm a male. I went to a nightclub 4 days ago downtown with my friend and some of her friends. It was a chill, warm night. I had a great time there, dancing, drinking, all that stuff. Didn't drink much though, even though I'm gay. This nightclub isn't particularly a gay club, so I wasn't expecting to meet other guys. I was on the dance floor and this guy seemed to make a lot of eye contact with me. I didn't find him that attractive. He was too slim, a bit shorter than me, very pale. In fact, I found him a bit creepy. His face, the way he looked at me. But I was curious and caught my attention that he was watching me. Who knows, maybe he was gay and I may like him. Time goes by dancing with my friends. I get away from him. It was almost 6 a.m. and it was time to leave. I'm going to the bathroom when I see him just getting out of it. We almost crashed into each other. I finished my stuff and when I was about to wash my hands, I saw him there again. He had come back to the bathroom. While washing my hands, I saw through the mirror that he had his phone on his ear, like he was about to call someone. Looking down to the floor, I just washed my hands, and when I was about to leave the bathroom, he was standing next to the entrance door. He looked at me steadily. Our faces were close to each other this time. For some reason, something in his eyes, the way he looked at me, it was weird, terrifying, but intriguing at the same time. We left the club and said goodbye to my friends. Since I had wasted all my money, I decided to go back home by walking. It wouldn't be bad. It wasn't cold. The decision was my worst mistake. This decision was my worst mistake. After walking 1 block, surprisingly, I found this guy with his friends. His friends got in a taxi and just started walking the other way. After walking 1 block, surprisingly, I found this guy with his friends. His friends got in a taxi and he just started walking on the way I would go too. I didn't know what to do. I thought that maybe I should go find another way home so he doesn't feel like I'm stalking him. I didn't want him to think that I was stalking him. But also, I thought it may be funny too. Who knows? Maybe he would say hi. I suspected he was gay since he had made a lot of eye contact. I started walking, speeding a bit so that I didn't reach him. He was walking on the sidewalk, the one in front of mine. Then I noticed he saw me. I didn't want to say hi or anything. I'm shy. I just tried not to look at him. I was just walking. Then he did a move. He crossed the street. He was walking behind me now, just some meters behind me. I just kept walking. We walked like 5 blocks when I decided to stop on a bus stop in the gas station. I wanted to know what would be his reaction to it. He just crossed again the street and looked at me. Again, the way he looked at me was weird. His eyes were really creepy. Probably that was just the way he looked at people. Who knows? But I felt something weird. Then he turned to the left. I was just standing up watching him get away. I wanted to know if he would turn around to watch me. He did. At this point, I didn't know what to think. I decided it was time to finish this little game and to start walking my way home. I wasn't going to follow him. It was definitely enough for me. Probably he was shy too. I continued walking straight. He had turned to the left. 1 block straight, and finally I turned to the left. I lost him. Then I walked 1 block more and I was walking. Then I walked 1 block more, and as I was walking, a car stopped right next to me. A man and a woman were in there. She asked, "Do you have a lighter to lend me? Don't tell me why. Call me a paranoid." A man and a woman were in there. She asked, "Do you have a lighter to lend me? Don't tell me why. Call me paranoid." But there was something wrong with those guys. I said no, and she replied, "How is it that you don't have one?" It was an annoying question, so I didn't say anything, and I just got away. The car moved toward downtown. Seconds later, almost 1 block distance, I saw him again. This guy was stalking me again. Then, a guy riding a motorbike passed me and yelled at me, "Hey cutie, give me a kiss." At this point, I was starting to feel uncomfortable. I'm not used to being catcalled and how this guy walked into me. He had found me, but it was too much for the point it was creepy. I just started walking my way home and turning around to see if he was getting too close to me. I noticed he was using his cell phone. Then I turned to the right. He turns to the right too. I stopped, as if I was looking for a taxi. I wanted to know his reaction. He did the same as the last time. He just crossed the street and looked at me with those psycho eyes. He turned to the left, and I started walking. Suddenly, this suspicious blonde guy showed up. He was just walking and looked at me, but nothing serious to worry about actually. Then I see them again. The couple in the car, the same car that had stopped next to me and moved towards downtown. But now they were on my way opposite to downtown. Weird. This was the point where I was overwhelmed by all this situation. I started panicking. I freaked out. What the fuck was going on? Why would that car change its way? Was it all just a coincidence? My instinct told me otherwise. Luckily, I saw a taxi passing by. My first move was getting in the fucking taxi, but I wanted to get away from those guys. My first move was getting in the fucking taxi. I wanted to get away from there as soon as possible. I was in the taxi and saw this blonde guy sitting there. He just sitting in front of the house and watched me as I was passing by in the taxi. Why didn't he stop? Why did he stop? He was walking, right? So why just sit? Why did he stop? He was walking, right? So why just sitting there watching me as soon as I got in the taxi? That was suspicious. But it gets worse. The car that I'd seen previous minutes before was now just right ahead of my taxi. Like, what the fuck? Why did it move so slow? Were they stalking me too? Or just a coincidence? The car was moving in front of my taxi. It was like 5 blocks until I told the taxi driver to turn quickly to the left and finally lost him. Creepy guy, let's not meet again. It's never happened to me before. I've gone back home by walk after the nightclub several times before. I've never been robbed or anything. If he wanted to rob me, he would have already done it, don't you think? After stalking me more like 10 blocks, he had the opportunity. I arrived home in panic. I regret not having done anything. I wish I had confronted him. At least telling him, why are you stalking me? What could that little freak have done to me anyway? But I was just so overwhelmed.